All right, so it says find the line parallel to the given line which passes through the point. So if we remember, a parallel line means the slope is the same. So once we just identify what the slope is, we just say it's the same slope. So if my slope is -6, my parallel slope is the same, so it's also -6. So it says find the line parallel. Okay, well, to create a line, I use the point slope formula. And all I need is a point and a slope. Here's my point. Here's my slope. Plug it in. Y minus y1 equals my m times x minus x1. Now sometimes, like in this instance, it's just asking for a line. We created a line. Sometimes what we would have to do is, change it to where it's y equals mx plus b or something like that. But for now, that's it. We're good. The next one, it says to find the line perpendicular to the given line. Okay, so perpendicular means opposite reciprocal, right? So if I know that my slope is going to be -6, then my perpendicular slope is going to be opposite. So I change the sign, it's now positive, and the reciprocal is I flip it. So now I just need a point and a slope to create a line. A point and a slope. So y minus y1 equals my m times x minus x1. And that's it. There is my equation. Now, like I said, sometimes we may have to do, distribute it, ... if it's asking for, the slope-intercept form, etc. For number 5, it says find the slope-intercept form that passes through these points. Okay. Well, I need a point and a slope. I have a point. I can say this one. I don't got my slope yet. So how do I find the slope? Well, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We got to figure out that slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 1 over -4. So now I can use my equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus y1 equals my m times x minus x1. So it says an on-demand publisher charges $22.50 to print 600 pages, a 600-page book, and $15.50 to print a 400-page book. Find a linear function. Ooh. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so find a linear function which models the cost of the book as a function of the number of pages. Okay, so if we have to create it where it's going to be a function, that means y does have to be by itself. So eventually I'm going to have to get y by itself. Interpret the slope and interpret c of 0. Okay, well, we can look at this as a point. My point would be 2250, comma, 600. And my next point would be 1550, comma, 400. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? And that gives us your slope. So now I have my slope, I have my point, I can plug it into there. Then I just need to get y by itself. And then so interpreting the slope is going to be the increase in price per page. Right? The change in y, so the change in price. Sorry, the change in y, which is the pages, over the change in x, which is the price. So essentially what the slope is, it's per page that I want to print, it's going to create an increase in price. All right, so for number 6, this is an on-demand publisher charges $22.50 to print a 600-page book and $15.50 to print a 400-page book. Find a linear function. Boom. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, which models the cost of the book. Oh, well, if that's the case, I know that the cost, right, this is going to be my y value. I want to get my y value by itself. So I'm eventually going to have to do that. Of the number of pages. Okay, so that tells me immediately that the number of pages is going to determine my cost. So the independent variable is pages. So the x value is the pages. The y value is going to be the cost. So it gives me this information. It's actually 2 points. So to create a line, I need 2 pieces of information, a slope and a point. Well, I have my point. I now just need a slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now there's my slope. There's my m. So now I need to just take my m and my point, plug into the equation. Then I just need to get y by itself. So I can write it as the cost per the number of pages equals, and then we'll have our m, p plus some initial value, which is b. And so it says to interpret the slope. Okay, well, the slope is going to be the change in price for the number of pages. And since the slope is positive, it's going to be an increase in the price, as there's going to be an increase to the pages. And this says find interpret C of 0. Well, this is just the startup cost, right? This is probably the cost, not per extra page, but it could be the cost of the, the binding on the book, the cost to put the book together, the cover and the back, things like that. Number 7, it says state the intervals of increasing and decreasing and the max and min. So the intervals of decreasing, so it's going down till about there. So that's going to be negative infinity to negative 3. The intervals of increasing are going to be from negative 3 to infinity. And then there's no maximum, but there is a minimum. And the minimum is negative 7. For number 9, it's increasing until we get to negative 3. So that's negative infinity to negative 3. And then it's also increasing from 3 all the way up to infinity. It's decreasing only from here to here. So that's going to be from negative 3 to 3. And then there's a maximum at 22. That's the highest value. And then there's a minimum at negative 14. So it says write the standard form equation. Oh, there should be an M there. Write the standard form equation of the circle. So remember, that's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So I need to know my center, which is hk. right? The center is going to be HK, and then I need to know my radius. So it looks like the center is here. And so my radius is going to be 3, and my center is going to be 0, 3. So there's my H, and there's my K. So I just plug it in. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, and we have our r squared. So I could simplify that as x squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 9. Now this next one's a little different because it gives us the center and the area. So remember, the area of the circle is going to be pi r squared. So 16 pi equals pi r squared. Divide both sides by pi. Square root both sides. Your r equals 4. There we go. So I have my h, I have my k. So x minus negative 11, y minus negative 14 equals r squared, which is the same as 16. And then for the circumference, remember 8 pi equals 2 pi r. So you divide both sides by 2 pi. So again, your r is going to equal 4.